The courtroom air was cold, a manufactured cold designed to keep everyone awake and alert. My dress uniform felt stiff, like a costume for a play I never wanted to be in. Across the room sat Colonel Jennings, a statue carved from authority. His uniform was perfect, his posture impeccable. He looked straight ahead, never at me. He didn't need to. His presence filled the room, pressing down on me, on my lawyer, and on the 3 officers serving as the judicial panel. They were captains. Good men, I was sure, but they were still captains. And he was a full colonel in the United States Navy, a man destined for stars, a man who held careers in the palm of his hand. My lawyer, a young lieutenant named Peterson, shuffled his papers. He was nervous, and I couldn't blame him. We were David against a Goliath who owned the entire valley. The past 6 months of my life had led to this single point, this sterile room, this impossible fight. It all started on a training exercise in the Pacific, a deep-water salvage simulation. I was the mission's junior officer. My friend, Petty Officer 2nd Class Michael Davis, was the lead diver. He was the best. Fearless, but meticulous. He checked his gear 3 times. Always 3 times. It was his ritual. On that day, he checked it, and then I checked it. I found the problem. A microfracture in the primary oxygen valve. It was barely visible, but it was there. A tiny flaw that could become a catastrophic failure under pressure. I followed protocol, logged the issue, and took the report directly to Colonel Jennings, who was overseeing the exercise from the ship's command center. I remember the moment perfectly. He was drinking coffee from a thick ceramic mug. He glanced at my report, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes, and waved a hand dismissively. "Lieutenant Miller," he said, "that equipment was certified last week. It is a $100,000 piece of hardware, and we are on a tight schedule. Replace the valve if it makes you feel better, but do it fast. We are not delaying this operation for your jitters." His tone was final, an order wrapped in a suggestion, but there were no spare valves of that specific type on board. A gross oversight in mission planning and oversight that was his responsibility. I told him this. I told him we had to scrub the dive, that the risk was unacceptable. He looked at me then with a long, cold stare, the kind that makes you feel 2 inches tall. "Are you questioning my command, Lieutenant? Said. I have been in this Navy longer than you have been alive. Get your man in the water. That is in order." I stood there for a moment, frozen. In the Navy, you follow orders. It is the foundation of everything. But some orders are wrong, deeply wrong. I returned to the dive deck and told Michael. He saw the look on my face and read the report. He knew the risk, but he was a sailor. He saw the colonel's order in my eyes. He just nodded and said, "We'll be careful. We'll make it work." Those were his last words to me. 45 minutes later, at a depth of 200 feet, the valve failed, just as I had predicted. Michael's oxygen supply cut off instantly. We pulled him up, but it was too late. He was gone. The official inquiry was swift, a formality. The final report, written by a board that answered to Colonel Jennings, was a neat and tidy lie. It concluded that Petty Officer Davis had made a fatal error in judgment by improperly sealing his own life support connection. Human error. The faulty valve was never mentioned. My report vanished from the official logs as if it never existed. The Navy mourned a good sailor, lost to a tragic mistake. Michael's family received a folded flag and a story that dishonored his meticulous, careful memory. I couldn't let it go. I had made copies of my initial report before it disappeared. I had my own logbook. I filed a formal grievance. I pushed, screaming into the void of the military bureaucracy. I became a problem, a nuisance, then a threat. My fitness reports soured, my career stalled, and I was accused of insubordination, of conduct unbecoming an officer. They tried to bury me, but I had one thing on my side: the truth. Eventually, after months of fighting, I was granted this hearing, a formal proceeding to present my case against a superior officer, an almost unheard-of event. Now, in this cold room, the colonel was on the stand. He was masterful. He spoke with a calm, commanding voice, praised Michael Davis's service, and called his death a profound tragedy. He painted me as a young, overly emotional officer, unstable after the loss of a friend. He suggested I was creating a conspiracy to cope with my grief. He admitted I had come to him with concerns but characterized them as vague and unfounded, the jitters of an inexperienced officer. He denied ever seeing a formal report about a faulty valve. He lied with the ease of a man who had done it many times before. His words were poison, and I could see them working on the panel. The captains nodded with sympathy and looked at me with pity, the look you give a broken man. Peterson, my lawyer, did his best. His cross-examination was sharp, but he was punching a mountain. The colonel had an answer for everything. He twisted every question, using his rank, his experience, and his charisma. He was untouchable. After 2 hours, Peterson sat down, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The lead officer on the panel looked at me, then at the colonel. His face was a mask of professional neutrality, but I knew, I could feel it. We had lost. The system was protecting its own. The statue would remain on its pedestal, and I would be crushed. The lead captain cleared his throat. Colonel Jennings, thank you for your testimony. You may step down. The colonel gave a slight, confident nod. He stood up, adjusted his uniform jacket, and walked back to his seat. He had already won. The captain then turned to my lawyer. Lieutenant Peterson, he asked, a note of finality in his voice. Do you have anything further? Peterson looked at his notes. He looked at me. I gave a small, imperceptible shake of my head. It was over. But then, something shifted in his eyes, a spark. He straightened his back and stood up slowly. His voice was quiet at first, but it filled the silent room. Your Honor, he said, looking directly at the 3 captains. We have one more witness. A ripple of confusion went through the room. The panel officers exchanged glances. The prosecuting attorney looked annoyed, thinking the case was closed. Even I was confused. We had exhausted our witness list. We had no one else. The colonel, for the first time, showed a hint of emotion, a faint tightening of his jaw. He wasn't worried. He was irritated, annoyed by this last bit of pointless drama. The lead captain leaned into his microphone. Lieutenant Peterson. He sighed slowly. Your submitted witness list is complete. Who is this witness? Peterson took a deep breath. He didn't look at his notes. He looked straight at Colonel Jennings, his voice clear and steady now. I call Yeoman Sarah Jenkins. To the stand, Your Honor. The name hung in the air. Sarah Jenkins. Sarah Jenkins, the colonel's personal aide, a quiet, timid young woman who managed his schedules and typed his memos. She was practically invisible, a piece of the office furniture. The colonel's expression finally broke. For a single second, I saw it. Pure, unfiltered panic. His face went pale. He had considered every angle, every officer, every technician, but he had never considered the quiet girl who brought him his coffee, the one who saw everything, heard everything, and filed everything. The doors at the back of the courtroom opened, and there she was. Chioman. Jenkins. She walked slowly, deliberately, toward the stand, clutching a small data drive in her hand. Her knuckles were white. She was terrified, but she kept walking. She looked at me once, a brief, determined nod. My heart, which had felt like a stone in my chest, began to beat again, a fast, hopeful rhythm. I understood then. Peterson had found her. Or she had found him. She was the one who processed my report. She was the one who likely received the order from Jennings to delete it from the system. But she had kept a copy, a secret piece of the truth hidden away, waiting for a moment when her courage could finally outweigh her fear. The colonel sat frozen at his table, no longer a statue of authority, but a man of flesh and blood, a guilty man, watching his world crumble. And it was all because of the one person he'd never even thought to silence.